Hi friends, Rocky Outcrop here, Bitcoin technical analysis coming right at your face. How are you doing? I'm just going to raise my cup to the stars there. Actually, let me flick over to this tab. We've come too far to give up who we are. So let's raise the bar and our cups to the stars. She's up all night till the sun. I'm up all night to get some. She's up all night for good fun. I'm up all night to get lucky. I'm up all night to get lucky. I'm up all night to get lucky. Do you ever get that feeling whenever you're looking at the charts and you think, hey, I'm up all night to get lucky. I'm staring at the charts, staring at the charts. If I stare harder, then maybe I'll get luckier. So yeah, let's take a look at the charts together. Hopefully this leaves you not needing to stay up all night to get lucky, and that you're able to actually, benefit, take some value from this episode and, run with it and take your trading to a whole new level. Oh yeah. So first thing that I would like to point out that on the charts here, by the way, this is the Bitcoin technical analysis episode. If you didn't know that already, I'm Rocky Outcrop, as if you didn't know that already. And you should hit that subscribe button, as if you didn't know that already as well. Let's face it. Come on, hit that button. Join in. We're almost at 1,500 subscribers. It'd be awesome if that was you that hit that button that took us over that level. How brilliant would it be? So first thing I want to point out is that the current price on the CME charts is 11,000. Excuse me, as I burp up my lovely breakfast of tomatoes, garlic and onion, all smooshed up and smeared on toast. It's kind of like bruschetta. It was lovely. 11,635 actually is the current price over there on the CME charts, delayed by 10 minutes, of course. And the price on the spot prices is 11,615. You're looking at a roundabout, a premium of around about $20-30 at the minute. That's not very inspiring, is it? Is it inspiring? Are you inspired? Are you inspired? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm not inspired by that. I have to tell you, that's just not that fantastic. Looking at this price as well, we've come all the way down towards the lower end of our parallel channel, and we're currently finding ourselves, within the parallel channel, groovy, but not having done anything of particular note to say that the bullish scenario is looking particularly rosy right now. Okay, we could say that. We could agree on that. Overall, what we have is this quite clearly diminishing volume. Maybe if I move the charts off a bit to the side, but then you could see the volume a bit easier. Let's just make it so it's only volume on the screen. What does that look like to you? It doesn't look like it's going up very much. And what do we see with the price action? Well, it looks like it is going up. So interesting to be said on, interesting to be sure on that front as well. Let's just jump on over to our shift pitchfork that we have on the charts here. This is a shift. Yep, shift. And we find the prices have come down to this blue serrated line that we've talked about so many times in today's price action, with lows today so far of 11,515, finding its way back up again, coming up towards coming up above the upper line, but then not succeeding in terms of staying up there and just kind of slinking back down the way. And we have to ask a couple more questions. Really, realistically, have we been in an uptrend since the 17th of August or not? Just have we or not since that period of time, specifically over there on that one? I'll let you be the person who answers that question, because there are two ways of looking at this one, right? Because if you were to say, well, we have, because we went into that in an uptrend and, we're still in it and we're putting in higher lows overall. Of course, there are these, as I say, fairly uninspiring price action in the last, last week. Fairly uninspiring price action, week and a day, 8 days. However, or just a week, this past week. However, then we do have this upward trend where we can see that we have higher highs, ding, dong, dang, and higher lows, douche, bash, bosh. And if we actually then look at the oscillators during that period of time, we can say, yeah, sure, bit of mess on them. Okay, fair enough. Let's just hide all the drawings. Bit of mess on them, sure. But then look at that. That's overall bearishly divergent. Now, there's a couple of things which are not, you could say, well, between this high and this high, between the 10th of August and the 18th of August, it's not bearishly divergent. You could say that as part of this overall upward trend that we've been in, but we've been doing this, and we've come up and put in these highs in around 12.5 grand without having done anything better on the oscillators, and we've come down below. And what do we have? What's the most positive thing from these oscillators? Well, you could maybe point towards little sections of perhaps hidden bullish divergence. For instance, over here on the 11th of August, where we put in this higher low, yet we see the RSI was lower than it was previously. Indeed, as well, the same thing can be said for the 21st of August. So we have a few cases of hidden bullish divergence during this upward trend. That's great, isn't it? It's great, but it's actually happening at the same time as we have that bearish divergence, which is in our faces. We can see that fairly clearly. So what can we look to as well on this? I was just commenting on this last night with the folky wokies in the Discord. If I put the drawings back on so I can get rid of this. Now, this is the same chat as what I had when I put these on before. So if you didn't see that episode, then, well, you missed out, didn't you? As I was talking about Joella's Wilderjur and the this is what I call him, and the RSI, what he invented. That old mathematicians from the days of yore back in the 1970s. For the kids out there, that's when there was no such thing as computers. Lead was still in petrol and paint, and I don't know, lots of other things. Let's look then and say if we have this as a horizontal line on here, that we're below it currently, and if we were to go back up above it, then that could be quite good for the price action, just in terms of having moved above the previous area of a couple of zones of whatchamacall resistance there, and maybe that could then act as support as we were to sort of push on past this area. That could happen, but we could also be looking at the fact that we've come down below this as of this most recent drop downs on this section here, and now we're kind of in a little bit of a different phase of the market where we can ask a couple of questions. I think that's quite clear as well when you look towards the neutral line here in the stochastics and various other things. If I bring this DMI up big screen style, then you can see that we're down here below the 30 area, looking at this at 20. Now, it doesn't necessarily, we're not going to like pin all of our scientific approach to trading on just this little kind of aspect alone. Of course we're not, but we can see that in general these are converging, and they have been during this time when the price has been going up. So things are, as we say, uninspired. Okay, so what we're actually waiting for is to see some bullishness return to the market. Let me just dive back over to the CME charts, where I have a different type of drawing on the go here, and point out that we kind of came outside of this zone that we're on the way up, which is kind of similar to this one here with this parallel channel, except this encompasses all of the price action recently, whereas this one doesn't. It shows that we moved outside of it. Maybe a couple of things that could be looked to in terms of this would be, for instance, if we're able to go in there and put in lower lows, bearing in mind that this was a lower low over here than we had in the past. So the price action there on the 10th of August was indeed lower than the price action that we had in the run up to over there on the CMEs, while we didn't have that on the go on the spot prices, as you can see over there on the 10th of August, having actually managed to be higher than it was here. But that's because there was a weekend on this trading this chart, and there isn't one on the CME. So that hidden bullish divergence that you can see as part of this lows here only functions as a result of being higher than the low, which was over here, and that is not the case over there on the CME charts. So that doesn't exist on that one, while the bearish divergence absolutely still does. So you've got that on LGO. Things that we're looking out for in the future, which could come up. Well, what is this line here? Should it be on there? I wonder. I'm not on the CME chart every day. That makes me wonder, because I will have been on here since August, I imagine. And this normally denotes gaps that we have. So maybe I need to remove that just for now. I will, because it's not on the daily time frame. And you can see just in this zone over here at that 10 to 11 area on the GBTC pricing, which is pre-market right now as I film this video, then you can see that there is this trade on the NASDAQ, isn't it? I think. You can see that there is this gap here, right? Okay, so that could get filled at some point. If that were to get filled, I would probably say that this gap over here with the two similar looking fuzzy grey lines on the go would also be getting filled as well. No, that's not a gap there. That is well, that's just support and resistance that I've marked off. But this gap over here, this one correlates more towards that GBTC one actually down there at the 9Ks area. So there you go. There you go. That's where we are currently with Bitcoin. Yes, I'm not enthusiastic about the pricing. Yes, there's only like let's just say it's less than $50 the premium on the CMEs. I'd like to see there to be a bit more of a premium, if there were to be sort of remain in that bullish mindset. Given that just in that sole period of sideways price action back here as well, you were looking at sort of 50, 80, $100, $120 premium, whatever it might have happened to have been, you probably remember better than I do. And we don't have that currently at the minute while we're in an upward trend. So, interesting. Now, does that to say anything? Well, the trend is your friend until the end of the trend. As the trend ended? Well, not necessarily, but it does bring us back to that discussion that we had at the start of the show here about this period of price action since the 17th of August. Let's just dive down the price action, the time frame to a lower one, so that we can kind of take a closer look at this with our most scrupulous of eyes. This is the top here. This is a low here. This is a higher low, lower high. This is a lower low. This is a lower high. This is a nothing right now. Okay, so we're in that zone at the minute where there's a nothing, and we've neither done a lower low nor a higher high compared to these two areas, and I think that makes trading this one fairly easy in the meantime. Let's just stick a couple of grey lines in to mark out that area for us in terms of the sort of short-term trading price action, where we're right in the middle of those two zones at the moment, with the prices kicking around about that 11,600 area right now on spot. If we look down towards the lower one, where does that come in at? That comes in at around about 11,450, let's call it, and then the top one is at 11,800 or so, and that is the two zones that I would be looking for in terms of where we could be saying that we're triggering something slightly different in the market. Well, slightly different being that if we were to move beyond this zone here, which was a low on the 22nd of August, and jump back up to the 24-hour time frame, that's this one over here. So you would say that this is kind of then showing up on the daily time frame at that point thereafter, where you have a couple of things on the go, and you would most certainly be challenging those lows in there about the 10th of August or so, bearing in mind then over here that was indeed a lower low overall, and you'd be in this sort of consolidating type period then of price action. How would we be able to look at that in any particular way? Well, at the minute, if things stay as they are, and I just ditch these two lines, they're not necessary on there. None of my lines are necessary at all. They're just there for the shits and giggles. If we look down, if we look at this here, stick a couple of trend lines on, you might be looking at something and saying, well, as we so often do on the channel as well, once you put in the one line, you're looking and saying, right, this is going to start the story. How are we going to finish this story off? Or if we put in another line, there's a couple of things that we could do. For instance, just give me that there and clone it and drag it on down and say, well, maybe there's this on the go, which is, not too distinct from what we were looking at before in terms of those two purple lines before I got rid of one of them to stop you being so distracted by it. Might have been good to have been a good distraction to have had on there as I made that comparison. Sure, maybe. You could also be looking at this and saying, "Weep, will we get something like this on the go if the prices come down here and find the support in around about these lows previously, and then as well if we come in and we achieve a higher low than that period of price action over there, then would it turn into some sort of symmetrical type triangle?" Okay, and you've got all of that on the go. We know our trading ranges. We know where the prices could be going to. We've got a couple of things looked out there in terms of the divergence and whatnot, and we know that we're in a non-divergent downward trend on the 4-hour time frame. So far that has to be with a caveat. Actually, if I just really want to requalify this in terms of CME time. Looking down here, this is indeed lower than it was previously, and so far is actually bullishly divergent. So if we are to take out this higher area up at that 11,800, then maybe, pardon me, let's raise our cup to the stars. Cheers. We'd be looking at having had a trend kind of turn around on the 4-hour time frame with a bit of the old bullish divergence coming in there at the end, overtaking this perhaps the EMA here, moving back up to the median line on this thing. And I think if you were to also consider the sort of the resistance and whatever, you can see quite clearly denoted by the median line that would be one of those points for us at the minute. So that's all kind of fairly, normal in terms of trading. So, you know where you are, you know where you stand with that one. Let's just look at the volume. It's too hard to say whether or not this is, increasing or decreasing. Overall, it's kind of decreasing in terms of this downward movement, but what are you going to do? I mean, that's standard. And yeah, we've covered everything mostly. Like in terms of the MACD, you can see that we've clearly got this divergence here, bullish divergence between these lows on the CME chart, which makes me want to say that perhaps over here on the 4-hour time frame, that neither is it a channel nor is it a symmetrical triangle, and perhaps what we're looking at then instead is some sort of wedge formation, where you could be saying that, hey, this is a fallen wedge, and that's obviously a typically bullish scenario. We filled in a gap that we'd created over here on the 13th of August, then over and around about the 19th of August. So in terms of sort of the downward pressure to fill in a sort of small term time frame gap like the 4-hour one, we've kind of ticked that off our list of to-dos. So that's been done, and if we were to get a move out of either this to either direction, let's just do it lazy styley for us, shall we? Let's say it was over here. You could be coming up to putting in higher highs up there at the higher upper 12k area, which would take us back up to where our previous highs were, of course, and perhaps beyond. And then towards the downside, then you're looking at going down into that fuzzy grey territory of where I pointed out in terms of support and resistance, really, that we're looking at on this one. So you'd be asking questions about that now. If we were to do it sort of 60% style, I'll just undo. Right, okay, I hope that was undone. Okay, undone. And take a new line off of this instead, so that we can make the sort of the side-by-side comparison and say actually let's just use that one for it because it's bigger, and then we'll go with this at 60%. Well then, hey, look, maybe it comes in and has some sort of support in this area, but of course, you'd be looking at that and saying, well, will we go on to make the full one down the way because of the how we've come past certain areas? And indeed, if the opposing story to this one would be that if we moved up towards this top end and actually only did the 60% thing, then of course, you're asking, are we going to go past this and bust up past that resistance up above and put in a new high? And that's what we're looking at, and that's what's going to determine your trading. Now, for people out there who get confused, of which there are a lot, let me just kind of summarize this a little bit real quick here and say that the two areas in terms of looking beyond to be looking for this sort of a thing to happen in either direction, in either of them, clone. I suppose I have to be kind of visual, because there's a load of people out there who operate on a visual level. If you're looking for either of these two things to happen, that looks like a bit of that's like a mouse. To me, that looks like a mouse, sort of, with little whiskers. Anyway. If you're looking for the mouse to play out, then you have got to. So I suppose this would make this a yellow cheese wedge, right? Then you're looking for the price to go past either of these 2 points first of all. So that gives you a bit of a clue. This we can consider here as well in this zone. If I just kind of smear it in there, this zone here is obviously fake out territory in that zone. In that sense, this as well is fake out territory above us. So that's that ticked off our list of sort of things to talk about. And of course, if we move back down for all these other areas, we could be looking down towards the median line of this shift pitchfork for the next sort of area of support. And of course, then looking to the left, you can see that when these wicks coming in perfectly, all the bodies closing up above this area as it wicked around and actually came in and touched off of the 382 Fibonacci retracement point, that which you saw real briefly there, that we'd be looking down then. This would obviously need to kind of hold for us, or else we're kind of looking again down towards that 11,100 territory for that 382. But you'd also be looking down towards 10,800, 10,500 or so for the next couple of Fibonacci retracement points, and the lower line here on this one, the lower warning line comes in at around about 10,400 or 10,500. I think 10,500 would be a fair enough point to be saying, hey, warning, right? Would you not be thinking that, given that it's grand down from where we are right now, a solid 9 to 10% move there in price action, and you could be looking at the golden pocket retrace if you were to come in for that one over there then at 10,203. That's not a million miles ourselves away from a 786 retracement, which would fill in that gap perhaps on the CMEs. If you were to be going down the way, I'd be quite nervous about the price action, hoping for it to see it then rebound back up above 10,140 for us to be able to say that we've actually, not got a valid Fibonacci retracement over here from the bigger, broader type term perspective, drawn in from the lows of March the 13th up to the highs over here on August the 17th. And that would then, perhaps then reignite the shite of this. Sorry, I just wanted to rhyme. I'm a poet, you see. And in fact, if you want to read any of my poetry, because I'm not joking, I actually write poetry, let me know. Down here, down below this area, you can see then if we were to come down and actually do a 618 Fibonacci retracement and find our feet within this, that you could see that we've only really come down to an extension of the pitchfork, and that all of that sort of chat would then hold. If we then actually did it, again beyond that down the way, then that would take us down towards that 786, and all the rest of it. So those would be our sort of the chunk zones for us. I can't say, honestly, I can't make trading this any easier than what I'm doing, by the way. I really can't. Towards the top side, then you're looking at, of course, the 12,000 area. If we do go past that 10,000, 11,800 area with any degree of gusto, Gusto, gusto. And if we were to move towards the top side beyond that, you're looking at 12.5. Trading it really for either of these things really is going to be fairly greedy, but whatever. Some people like to have a nice little sort of directional trade, and it depends. I get asked from time to time, are you a swing trader? Are you a bling trader? Are you a ching trader? And I'm none of those things. Actually, I just made that term up. A ching trader. I would say that's a scalper. If you know what ching is. If you don't, who cares? And then but of course, if you weren't to trade beyond those areas, then you're looking at sort of typical YouTube videos and stuff like that, where they talk about where they looking for moves that go way beyond 10% moves and have got less to do with trading, more to do with investing. Cool. So yes. I suppose what you could consider would be that investing in a short would be like investing in the dollar or something like that. Anyway, current prices now over here on this spot prices, 11,496, so 11,502. As you can see, the prices have actually dropped down a fair whack just during recording of this thing. So I might as well then talk about how you would be looking at this. Fine, this is how you trade. I think this is fairly clear for people. How long into this video are we? 20 minutes. Whoa, way too long. Cool. Gonna end now. So you can see how this would work for you. You can see how you'd be able to manage your risk around these lines. If you don't know what I mean by the term managing risk, then look back a couple of videos there. You can see, is it yesterday, just yesterday, where I talked about risk management in yesterday's video, second half of it, how you'd be able to actually trade off this if you're going to be that ching trader that we talked about a second ago. And if not, then, if you were looking to maybe perhaps short it at this level, maybe you'd be looking down here and asking, well, I would wait for this type of price action to happen, where we came down, came back up, retested, all that sort of stuff. I mean, honestly, I can't do anything better than this. Some guy was yapping at me in the comments on the Tezos video, to be fair, not this one, that I need to make not short videos, edit them because there's too many blunders and blah 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 talk. Honestly, I don't see any in my own reflection back at what I've been saying so far. I've been talking fairly consistently in a fairly easy to understand manner, which is actually all very good, quite detailed information about exactly how you'd be trading this. And I hope that then, therefore, you're able to take away that value and actually enable you to trade better. We are a trading channel after all. And the Discord is there, full of traders. And I would also like to give a shout out to, is it Simon, by the way, SC Patch, Tony for the chat yesterday, and of course Pete. Good stuff. I think we'll probably be doing that a little bit more regularly, but it's hard to know. And of course, not necessarily even with me every single time, but it might be quite nice. And maybe we'll even convert it into a podcast. That might be quite cool. Lots of good stuff out there. Lots and lots and lots and lots of good stuff in the channel. I hope that you appreciate it. If you take that value, hit that subscribe button, and come back again for some more tomorrow, as I will be back again doing more of this technical analysis. Thanks so much for tuning in. Honestly, I think this is the best stuff on YouTube. I mean, I really genuinely do, as you can see how that worked. You can see it working in front of your eyes in real time. Salute you. YouTube.com/Rocky Outcrop if you want to share it with your friends without actually, needing to type in a bunch of letters and whatnot that are all kind of codified. That's your easy, memorable URL for you. And yeah, take the video and share it with friends. And this is the best. This is the best technical analysis you're going to get for Bitcoin in the entire world, as far as I'm aware, because I wouldn't look anywhere beyond this now that I've done all of that myself personally, right? But, you know, don't want to be big-headed, even though, as you can see with my hair today, that it is certainly enhancing the whole cranium and making it a bit bigger. Catch you later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Do hit that subscribe button. Do all of that good stuff. And yeah, you know, let me know if there's any alterations that you'd like to see in the videos. Just make sure they're not spurious comments, because this is how we do. This is how we do. And yeah, looking at this, you know, I want to keep the video going, as we see that there's 3 hours 39 minutes left on this 4-hour candle. We're coming right down to this thing, but I'm not going to. Instead, I'm going to pass the ball over to you. And I hope that you run and get a touchdown with everything that I've been talking about today. Okay, I take time out of my own trading time to do these videos. As you can see, just the way that I was looking at this, if I'd have been looking at this myself and then trading it rather than making a video, editing it, uploading it, putting all the details, the description and everything else onto YouTube, I'd be a way off making money right now. So I'm doing this, I've taken time out of my own day to do it. So I hope you get that value. I really do appreciate you tuning in though. And just let you know that there's no resentment there, of course, at all. I really think that putting out this positivity into the world is a valuable thing, and it makes me feel more fulfilled as a human being, of course, right? So that's good. So we're all winners. Everyone's a winner. Babe, ain't that the truth? I'll catch you next time. Thanks so much for tuning in. Been Rocky Outcrop. See ya.